In today's video, we're going to go over the top used teams on floor 12 in the Spiral Abyss for 3.1. We also have the previous iteration of the Spiral Abyss that we can refer to. There we go. I know how to do stuff. But yeah, we have this version last time to just compare, and I'm sure you guys are already seeing a difference between the two, and we'll get to that. So we're going to start from the top, talk about the most popular teams, and then go from there. We have the Child's International team, which consists of Kazuha, Bennett, and Zhongling. I actually never really used this team until very recently. I started using it myself, and I can see why a lot of people like it. It's a very solid comp. Child is apparently very popular over in the Asia server. Hence the 15.4% usage rate. Yeah, very easy character to have. He does not need any constellations to perform well. I know a lot of people will argue that he could use C1, and well, sure, it's nice to have. It is definitely not needed, and I can definitely get into that more in a later video. But Kazuha, Bennett here again for damage amplification, and then we have Zhongling for AoE, pyro damage, and just to proc, or Child's gonna be proccing the vaporizes. And this comp's very fun to use, in my opinion. I think it's very fun to see all the Riptide damage when you're fighting large groups of enemies. Let's take a look at the second most used, or the actual most used team. I'm reading this from left to right, I'm sorry. With the 16.9% usage rate is, of course, the Red International team. I've talked about that team a bajillion times on this channel. It's a very, very strong team. Lots and lots of damage. We get it. Moving on. Coming in at third place at 10% is Ayaka's team with Shenhe, Kokomi, and Kazuha. Now, again, we kind of touched on the last iteration of this video, and you know, Shenhe's here just to buff Ayaka's damage by a bunch, Kokomi for freeze and healing, and Kazuha once again to group up your enemies and provide more damage for Ayaka. Despite having a lower usage rate this time around, she is still the fourth most used team in the Spiral Abyss, and that is Hu Tao. This is the double Hydro variation with both Yelan and Jingqiu providing extra damage with Zhongli as that shield. So let's compare it to the last version. So we see it's pretty much the same here, except Raiden Shogun's team went up a bit, and that is clearly because of the machine boss. Again, I've mentioned this in the last video, but if you haven't fought the new boss in the Spiral Abyss on floor 12, chamber 3, second half, that's quite a lot of words, you definitely want an Electro teammate to help. Just having an Electro just makes that boss 10 times easier and a lot less annoying to deal with. Let's see what else we have here. Not much else is different though, just pretty much the same. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, if we go back, we're gonna start seeing some change when we get to the bottom half, and we'll talk more about that. But let's continue on. So we have I call this the free-to-play version of the Freeze team here. So instead of Shenhe, you're just running Rosaria, who's an okay alternative if you weren't able to pull for her. Hopefully she gets a rerun soon so more people can actually have a chance to play with Shenhe, including me. I don't have her. I wish I did. Here's where it gets a little more interesting. Now we have the Keqing Aggravate comp, which includes, well, obviously Keqing, Fish, Zhongli, and Kali. Now, of course, you can substitute Kali for Traveler, as you can see on the bottom right next to my face. The least used team on this list, at least, is 2.9% has the Traveler variation, and which is kind of surprising considering, like I said yesterday, most people actually consider Traveler the better Dendro applicator and provides more buffs to your team compared to Kali. Not to mention you can also C6 Traveler for free just by playing the game and exploring and stuff like that. But regardless, very solid team. You're going to see a lot of damage numbers with Aggravate, especially a lot of big damage numbers. And of course we just have Zhongli here for shields, so Keqing can do her thing and just focus on doing damage. Next up, we have the Hyper Carry Raiden Shogun team. I don't know why this is on the first half. I would think this would be on the second, but here it is. This is basically buff Raiden as much as possible so she can have a really, really hard-hitting burst. So we have Bennett, Kujo Sara, and Kazuha to... These are 3 supports that can easily get their bursts, just so that you can fuel Raiden's... I forgot what it's called, but you know how she works. She gets more... You use more bursts, it powers up her own. Bennett and Kazuha, obviously, for damage amplification. And then we have Kujo Sara here to apply Electro, so you can get that Electro Swirl, as well as giving a damage buff to Raiden, of course. Even more damage if you have her at C6. So, very solid comp. I don't know why it's on this side. And then, next up we have basically Raiden Shogun, but Yu'lon version. That's fine. I mean, you're gonna get the same results here. Obviously, it's used less than the Xingqiu because a lot less people have Yu'lon. Again, she's only had 1 banner ever, and that was back in earlier this year. So it's been a while. So newer players obviously don't have access to her anytime soon. And then we have the double cryo carry here with Ayaka, Ganyu, Kazuha, and Kokomi. This is if you don't have Shenhe once again, because Ganyu can be a support here if that's how we're using her. For Ayaka, you could use the I mean, obviously she's here for the cryo resonance, I believe the buff from her burst, and even Ganyu might have some sort of like support, either artifact set or something for Ayaka to get more damage here. But this team's kind of weird, honestly. This is definitely if you just don't have Shenhe, but more or less it'll still work. Freeze comp, definitely good for the first half. And then the last team, which I mentioned earlier, it's basically Keqing with Traveler. Very interesting to see. Obviously, Official is here for battery and electro application, but I kind of wish we had a Dendro shielder, because then we wouldn't need the Zhongli, and we can get double Dendro and double electro, and that would be a lot better for just keeping up the Dendro so you can consistently aggravate all the time. But I'm sure this team is fine and it works. So let's compare the second half to the last Spiral Abyss. So you can see there's actually a lot of Yoimiya comps. Well, two spots of Yoimiya comps here. Looks like those got replaced by the Aggravate Keqing team, which I definitely want to try. It's just getting the Elemental Mastery sort of stats on my Keqing is going to be a pain, and building up the characters, of course. So it is nice to see that Dendro is finally starting to become more of a popular thing in terms of team usage in the Spiral Abyss. I only expect these numbers to keep going up as more players continue to build and grind up their Dendro characters to be able to even take on this content in the first place. I'm sure a lot of people are still working on them. I know I am. And we're only going to see this number increase because Nahida again is coming out in 3.2, so we're going to have another Dendro. I don't know what she is, like a off DPS or a healer, or just having another Dendro. You're going to see the rise in it. Do I think Dendro is going to overtake the already established Vape and international teams? Probably not. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. And these teams have been just solid for forever. So people that are lazy and don't want to invest in building a Dendro team, you're probably just going to stick with your international Raiden team, your international or your Hu Tao comp or child comp or your freeze comp. Like they all work. You might have a little bit more trouble with the machine boss if you're not bringing in Electro, but if you have someone like Hu Tao who just does an absurd amount of damage, then it's not an issue. But it is nice to see a change in teams here. Hopefully, with more characters being released, we're going to see more variations. But yeah, not that much to say this time around. Unfortunately, I don't think there's too much to discuss. The same teams that were here as the last version are still, they're still here. They're still relevant. So if you're looking for a strong team to use in the Spiral Abyss, here's a good sample of what you could use in the most popular teams. But that doesn't mean you have to use these, otherwise you won't be successful in the Spiral Abyss. It is definitely possible to do it without these teams. And in fact, I did it with I had a team with Yaimiko, and I was able to beat it. I had a team with Yoimiya, and she's not even up here anymore, which is sad, considering there was 2 bosses in the Spiral Abyss, and that's where she excels at. Is there anything you guys are surprised by, interested in knowing for team comps? Let me know in the comments down below. This video is going to be pretty short, just because there isn't too much to talk about in terms of teams changing, other than, of course, just the Dendro moving on up a little bit. Hopefully we get to see more interesting team comps in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.